everybody. Thanks for joining us here today. I hope you're enjoying the show. My name's John Curran. I'm a stand here at the show here today, Building Renovation Show, and we provide energy efficiency services for building and renovations, and assist the whole team for Part L compliance. So I was asked here to give a brief overview of the new building regs and how they affect Part L conservation of fuel and energy, and how to comply with them with the building regulations. So just a quick overview of what I'm talking about. It's just the new system came in March 2014, and we're talking about Part L, conservation of fuel and energy. I'll have a look at Part F as well on ventilation, because air tightness and ventilation go together, so it's important to know that you're matching, that your airtight and your ventilation system is compatible. You check the Part L using the Deep software, which is also used for publishing BER certificates. And I'll go through a typical construction program from start to finish, and how to comply with Part L at the end, and a final BER cert for proof of Part L compliance. So the building control regs, they affect everybody now, building owners, designers, the Building Control Authority. For building owners now, there's more forms to be filled in, different forms than were there before. And there's a code of practice now which explains what each role is for the owner, for the designer, for the building control authorities. And this can be found from the building control. They have a desk outside here if you want to get forms and application forms. You can have a read through this and show you exactly what new roles have come in. The new thing in all this now is there's a more thorough inspection to be carried out. It's not just carrying out an inspection at the end of the job, an opinion of compliance. There's also a more thorough stage inspections to be carried out during the job, like foundations and insulation and walls and slabs. So there's an assigned certifier now that you have to have on board from the very start, and his role is to work with the builder, the owner, and agree stage inspections throughout the job, and to, at the very end, sign off on all parts of the regs, not just Part L. We're looking at Part A for the structure, to Part M for access for people with disabilities. And you have to check during the job and at the very end that all is to be compliant with the regulations. So little changes, but there's just a more thorough inspection method now than there was before. Just a quick overview of Part L and where we were, where we're at, and more changes on the way. Before this, we were building C, D rated houses. 2005, we're up to B3. The primary energy level is 150 kilowatt hour per meter squared per year. This was revised again in 2008, 40% more energy efficient than 2005, and renewable energy contribution. This was revised again in 2011, which we're now working to. So now we're building A3 houses, which are a lot more energy efficient than before. And from below you can see typical cost prices for oil and of heat pumps and wood pellets. It doesn't cost as much now to heat the houses that we're building at the moment. We're going to be building at the end of 2016, beginning of 2017, what they call nearly zero energy buildings, or NZEBs. And these will be down more energy efficient again, building an A2 house. So look, they're building better houses than we did before. So that's the changes in the Part L. So what it involves is for changes is all insulation levels wall, roof, floor all have to be increased. The U values have to be improved. Windows, U values, you're looking for a good double glaze or a triple glaze. Air tightness, which has now come into play for new buildings, which wasn't there before. So insulation and air tightness now play a big part. Just numbers there: 7 meters cubed per hour per meter squared. Just the maximum level that's required. You're looking for less than this. And all the details around windows and doors, where you have heat loss now, where wall meets ceiling and slabs. All these have to be looked at very carefully, designed and built. These are called the acceptable construction details, which to limit thermal bridging. So all of this needs to be improved on to comply with Part L, which will give you a more energy efficient building, a warmer building. The boiler, oil, gas fired boiler can still be used, but they have to be greater than 90% energy efficient. And you need a renewable energy contribution. So again, these are the measures we're looking at: insulation, window, doors. I'll go through all these other ones in bold during the presentation. Thermal bridging, air tightness, and ventilation. So yeah, it's not just about complying. An A-rated home will have a higher thermal performance with lower energy bills. The homeowner will enjoy the comfort of a warmer, cosier and healthier indoor environment. So it's not just about complying, you are getting a better construction of a house at the end of the day. So how you check for compliance, you use what we call the Dwelling Energy Assessment Procedure, a deep methodology. This is used for BER certificates that you've maybe heard of before, but they're also used for checking for compliance for Part L. Just a small note then from the Donegal County Council website, which is all updated from March of last year when the new building regulations system came in, and they're also on board as every other county council in the country. That compliance with Part L must be demonstrated using the DEEP methodology for dwellings and the non-domestic energy assessment procedure, the NEEP, for buildings rather than dwellings. So it's not just for domestic, we're also looking at commercial. For commercial building now, you have to have it checked using this NEEP software for the design, and again at the very end for the final building when it's completed. And this work is carried out by a registered BER assessor, and he'll be looking at all the construction type, levels of insulation, ventilation, air tightness, fuel types, heating system and controls, distribution losses, and renewable energy. So as I said before, so at the start, that's where you have to get the drawings checked. Building control now are looking for, with the drawings, a Part L spec to say that using the DEEP, that the drawings are compliant with the regulations, and this has to be done from the beginning, so that at the very end you are in a position that you will comply with the drawings. So the homeowner, builder, they must be aware of this level of detail at the commencement notice. There's a bit more information now needed at the very start than was there before. You have to know your renewable energy, your heating, what type of air tightness, mechanical ventilation. So you need to have everything designed from the very start. That's generally the nice picture we're looking at now. Slab, walls, roof, all acting as one. Insulation complete all around. There's no gaps, no weak spots at the joints around the windows and doors. It's all one complete insulation all around. And there's an air tightness envelope all on the inside for keeping the heat in. So the acceptable construction details, yeah, these are all the joints between windows, doors, slabs, roofs. The architect would normally have this detail on the drawings, but it can be found in Appendix D, Part L of the building technical guidance documents. The details, they're for avoiding heat loss if you design and build them properly, and they're also very important for avoiding mold growth and surface condensation. Because they're now the weak spots where you've increased all the insulation in the walls, the roofs, floors. The weak spots now are all these little gaps and cracks, the joints that take place, and they have to be built accordingly as well, that reduce thermal bridging. That's just a typical one from Appendix D. Just a ceiling meeting a gable wall, so showing how it should be done exactly, you know. In Appendix D, there's one for every detail of structure that you're looking for, from timber frame to cavity walls to external insulation. So there's hundreds of these details available on the websites, on the environ.ie website, if you want more information. And just on these as well, it's important to have them checked and signed by the architect or the builder during the job, and to record all this information, because when the assessor comes at the end of the job, he wants proof that you've done all this work, that it hasn't just been on the design, that you have checked it. So it's one of those jobs that you don't see at the end of the day on a final inspection. So you need to have proof recorded, filed, and signed that all this work has been carried out. The other new one in construction is the airtight membrane. Wasn't so much there before, building passive houses and such, but for the building regs, it's just coming into it now. So yeah, insulation alone does not prevent heat loss. A certain amount of air tightness is also required. So for typical block work, scratch coat, skim on the block work, it's airtight enough. So the weak spots really is the timber detail, the rafters, joists, typical timber frame construction. You're now looking at putting an air barrier membrane on the timber detail before the plasterboard is applied and then skimmed. You're looking at taping up all around pipes, cables, taping around windows and doors as well. So this is the extra air tightness barrier that's now required in the new houses to keep the heat in. And yeah, the level of air tightness you're looking for, passive houses are very airtight, 0.6 meters cubed per hour per meter squared, but they'll be using mechanical ventilation with heat recovery since they are that airtight. You can still use natural ventilation, but you wouldn't have to have the property that airtight. So there's still a choice. You can use natural or mechanical ventilation. This is a detail which just shows the big change that's come into it. This is just an intermediate floor, two-story building, passive house. So the ducting at the top would be the mechanical ventilation supply ducting. So the builder here, he's gone to the extra bit. He's put an air barrier membrane onto the wall. He's taped up all around the joists. So he's really going airtight with the building, you know, which is fine because he's putting in the mechanical ventilation system. And it's all good at the end. It's more comfort. There's less heat loss involved. So just this, it's a bit more complicated. Every detail needs to be looked at when you're looking at a low air tightness level, intermediate stud work. You know, everything needs to be looked at the start and see how you're going to make it airtight. So once the air tightness done, you have to carry out the air tightness test, and it's mandatory now, air tightness test for all new builds to comply with the 2011 building regs. must be carried out before the building is habitable in accordance with European standards. It's advisable to carry out a quality assurance test when the air barrier is complete but not covered up. This allows for leaks to be identified without disrupting the whole of the build. So it's good to have a quality assurance check after first fix, but before you start covering up and skimming all the work, just to make sure that you have it airtight enough. But you need a final one at the very end as well to insert into your BER certificate. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, just a small one on ventilation. It's part F, but if you have it very airtight, you need to have a mechanical ventilation system in the building. The regs don't state that you have to go mechanical, you can go natural. There's good low carbon natural ventilations available out there. It's not like the old system where you've just a fan losing heat out of the building. There's better natural ones available than there used to be. There's demand control ventilation as well. So there's different systems out there available. So that's really the building fabric, the envelope, extra work attention that's needed now. Building services is again the oil and gas system needs to be greater than 90% efficient, and you need about 3 zoned controls as well for compliance. And then you're on about the new renewable energy contribution. There's plenty of stalls out there today for getting information on this. Solar panels, collectors are used for thermal, photovoltaic panels for electrical supply. They've come down in price a lot lately. Many are using them as a cheaper option for renewable energy. Heat pumps, be it geothermal or air to water. There's a few of them out there in the stands there today. They would also contribute towards all of your heating, really. If you had them with underfloor heating or with low temperature radiators, you wouldn't need an oil or gas heating system. They would cater for heating the whole house. Biomass boilers would be stoves that would chip the wood pellets to steam. There's a few out there as well today. And that's about it for the renewables. Depending on where the house is, you could go wind turbine. If there's a good stream nearby, you could go hydro, but there wouldn't be as many networks. So that's really what's doing the rounds for the renewable energies. So at the end of the day then, you need to be our cert to check for Part L compliance, and accompanying a deep report to check the building. This is then given to the assigned certifier who you would have nominated at the start. He's new now, on board since last year. And this is then all with all the other sign-offs and other parts of the regs. This is all then forwarded to building control. And just to note that, yeah, BER assessor would carry out the signing off Part L, but they can only publish a certificate based on the information gathered from the final survey, and it's recorded by the homeowner. So you have to record, like windows, all the specs, all the specifications for the type of insulation that was used. You need an air tightness test carried out. You need a proper certificate for that at the end of the day. So all this needs to be recorded and handed to the BER assessor at the end of the job, so that he can do the proper certificate and give it the proper rating that it deserves. But he can only record what he can see at the final check. That's really it for the new builds. Not as much required for the renovations and extensions. The deep wouldn't be used. There's tables 5 and 6 in the Part L. that you're checking the U values of the building fabric, so they have to be within a certain U value. And again, the building survey, if you're putting in a heating system, it has to be greater than 90% efficient. So thank you very much now. Hopefully that was shed some light on the system, on the new way of building. I'll just leave the chart up there just to show the stages of the Part L, where we are and where we're going with things. Okay? Thank you very much.